The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Paranormal Concept right here on Parasearch UK Radio with your host, Paul Rook.
On the day of my judgment, when I stand before God and he asks me, why did I kill one of his true miracles? What am I going to say? That it was my job. It was my job.
You tell God the Father it was a kindness you done. I know you're hurting and worried. I can feel it on you. But you ought to quit on it now. I want it to be over and done with. I do. I'm tired, boss. Tired of being on the road, lonely as a sparrow in the rain. I'm tired of never having me a buddy to be with, to tell me where we's going to, coming from, or why. Mostly I'm tired of people being ugly to each other. I'm tired of all the pain I feel and hear in the world every day. There's too much of it. It's like pieces of glass in my head all the time. Can you understand?
Yes, John, I think I can.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Paranormal Concept. I'm your host, Paul Rook, and tonight joining me is the lovely Kerry Greenaway. Hello, Kerry.
Hello.
Hello. I nearly said Kerry Ann for a second there.
I know, we're getting names wadded up all over the place tonight, aren't we?
Yeah. You should really stop changing your name. Every week it's something different.
Well, you know, I have to keep it mixed up. Keeps you all excited, doesn't it?
It does, indeed. So how have you been this week?
Stressed.
Stressed? Why have you been
stressed?
Sleep.
I can't sleep now because whenever I go to sleep, I sleep with clowns. It's horrible.
Oh dear.
All I'm saying, I've watched, oh my goodness. I have now a very poor brain set.
Well, playing us in tonight was a very short clip from The Green Mile, one of Stephen King's very famous films, and probably one of my favourites. And so that's what our subject is tonight, Stephen King. So
a prolific writer. He's prolific.
He's fantastic. I don't know about anything else.
He has done so much stuff. I didn't even realise how much stuff he'd done, and I printed it off. A load of films that he's done. Oh my goodness, is all I can say. I even go into the valley when I say that. Oh my goodness, oh my God. Yeah, so many. Where do you start really with Stephen? He's awesome.
Okay, so where was he born then? Start at the beginning.
Okay, I have a biography here. He was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. And his parents actually separated when Stephen was a toddler, but they were raised by their mother. Their childhood was spent in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where his father's family was at the time, and in Stratford, Connecticut. Would you like me to go on? Because I have loads.
Absolutely, keep going.
Okay, when Stephen was 11, his mother brought her children back to Durham, Maine for good. Now, her parents, Guy and Nellie Pillsbury, became incapacitated with old age, and Ruth was persuaded by her sisters to take over the physical care of the elderly couple. Once they passed away, Mrs. King found work in the kitchens of Pineland, which was a nearby residential facility for the mentally challenged. Okay. Now, Stephen attended the grammar school in Durham and graduated in 1966. And he wrote a weekly column for his school newspaper, The Main Campus. He was also active in student politics, serving as a member of the Student Senate, and he came to support the anti-war movement on the Orono campus, arriving at his stance from a conservative view that the war in Vietnam was unconstitutional. He graduated from the University of Maine in 1970 with a BA in English and qualified to teach on high school level. A draft board examination immediately postgraduate found him a 4F on grounds of high blood pressure, limited vision, flat feet and a punctured eardrums. He married Tabitha in 1971. Oh, I love this. He met Tabitha in the stacks of the Fogler Library at the University of Maine. Your mic levels are low, apparently.
Okay, I'll change that. There you go, done.
Thank you,
Sorted.
Graham. Little shout out to Graham Smith. Or should I say DJ Smithy, as he is now forever to be known as. Because I found out a little fact about our lovely Smith that he used to be a DJ. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Well, you do now. He's going to hate me for that. Anyway, back to Stephen King. Stephen made his first professional short story sale, which was The Glass Floor, to Startling Mystery Stories in 1967. And then I love this bit, he continued to sell stories to men's magazines.
I wonder which one that was.
Well, anyway. Many of these were later gathered into the Night Shift collection or appeared in other anthologies. In 1971, Stephen began teaching high school English classes at Hampden Academy, which is basically in Maine. He was writing in the evenings and on the weekends. He continued to produce short stories and to work on novels. And then...
Do you know what his first novel was?
In the spring of 1973.
Oh, you're reading it now, are they?
Oh, I am. Oh, I've got a full biography going on here, mate. I tell you now. Doubleday and Company accepted the novel Carrie for publication. On Mother's Day of that year, Stephen learned from his new editor at Doubleday that a major paperback sale would provide him with the means to leave teaching and write full time. Now, that's synchronicity, isn't it, really?
Absolutely.
Carrie, I mean, come on.
That was a good film.
That was an amazing film, and actually that's a lot of people's favourites. I asked out on a post I put out today what their favourite films and their favourite books were, and Carrie was up there. And I actually think they should play that in school as an anti-bullying campaign.
They should. Absolutely.
I do think that. Sarah Chimicero, all the way from Australia, who is living life in the full spectrum, said she'll go with Carrie only because it was the first book of his that she ever read. And she saw the musical version of that at the theatre last year, which was a little weird, I would think. And it's a story that can translate all these years later, perhaps even more so, especially with bullying being what it is today. Yeah. So, and that's one thing I would say with Stephen King, is that there are common themes that run through his books, and they kind of translate no matter what era he wrote them in. I mean, bearing in mind that was 1973 he wrote that. It still translates today. It still resonates today.
Yeah, absolutely. They're almost timeless classics, aren't they, really, the book that he writes?
Oh, gosh. And they resonate so much. They stick in your head. I mean, I remember watching Carrie, and it probably was way back in the day. And
when it first came out in the 70s, yeah?
No, obviously not, because I'm not that old. I would have been 4. Probably was a few years later. Cheeky. But yeah, you know, I mean, Carrie. I mean, come on, let's talk Carrie.
Yeah. I see. I personally, I think Stephen King's books are too drawn out for me. So I prefer to watch them on the screen. So they're the ones I've obviously seen, the books that have been made to film. They're just too drawn out for me. And I think it shows in the new It film that we'll be talking about a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah, we will talk it later. We're going to try, which is very difficult to do chronological, really, isn't it? Because there is a crossover between when films are made, when books are written. There's sort of like a time split with all of this. So we're sort of like just flowing with it, really, I think is how we're going to do it, is it?
Yeah. I don't... We'll just talk about different books and films of Stephen King's.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll find out what everyone in the chat room, see what all their favourite books are, or favourite Stephen King films.
Yeah, guys, we have a chat room. If you go on the Spreaker channel, there's a little widget at the bottom that's got a little speech bubble. Click on that. It brings the chat room up. We want to see you all in here. We want to hear your views on Stephen King. So come into the chat room and join in the discussion tonight, because this iconic writer has been translated through books, mini-series, TV series, films, and he's incredible. I mean, I didn't realise how much work of his I'd actually seen or read until I got this drop-down list, you know. And as I say, Carrie was the first book he wrote, and it was awesome. I mean, when I remember the film, I didn't read the book, but I remember watching the film. And when the mother stabs Carrie, I'm like, oh, my God. You know, I mean, forget the ballroom scene. There was so much interaction between mother-daughter with the telekinesis and stuff and the knives and stuff. So evocative. And the performances are absolutely astonishing, even now, aren't they?
I mean, I do think that sometimes, especially with some of his books and the films in particular, there is a connecting feature to most of the stories, which is Castle Rock. It's in the books or the films, it's normally a town where these particular stories happen, and I found out today that it was from a fictional fort of the same name in William Golding's 1954 novel Lord of the Flies.
Yes,
so he takes
that.
some really good parts from other people and puts them all into his own, you know.
He does have
ideas.
that influence, doesn't he?
He's very, very influenced by other writers.
Oh, incredibly. And he says that. I mean, I looked at quotes of his, and, you know, I've looked at so many different aspects of Stephen King. He's so fascinating as a person, not just a writer. Yeah. And, I mean, I actually studied the William Golding book when I was at school. I think most of us did. I think it was on the curriculum.
Again, that's just another one I've watched as the movie. The movie was awesome. Absolutely powerful stuff.
Are you talking about the William Golding movie?
Yeah.
Not the Stephen King movie.
Not the Stephen King one, no.
No, but he took that in one of his films, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where the devil comes to town.
Yes, that was Needful Things.
Mm-hmm.
That was very good. It was almost like the devil wanted to take over the town, and he would pit the village, the people living in the town against each other.
Yep.
So it'd be like, I don't know, one of them would throw mud all over someone's washing, and then that person comes out, checks their washing, and accuse someone else. So they go around and brick in their windows, and then that person, and it just go around in a big circle, and it was it was so funny.
Funny, I don't think is the word. Now, I don't class Stephen King so much as a horror writer. I class him as a psychological thriller writer.
Yeah.
Because he actually keys into points in your psyche.
Yep.
Which makes it stick.
It does.
That's how I would explain Stephen King.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Carrie, and I haven't watched that for years and years and years. Oh my God, years. Quite a few years, everybody. But I still remember it to this day.
Yeah, I mean, although he has written horror novels and things like that, he has also written like Shawshank Redemption. Although it's not a particular horror.
No,
it's not, is it? I don't know what you class it. Feel good movie. I don't know.
It's almost uplifting amongst all the dregs of society and the crap that people can put on you. I mean, that was about a guy that got falsely accused, wasn't it?
It was.
And got put into prison. But the guy never gave up hope. I can't remember the guy's name.
Andy Dufresne.
That's the one. He got put in, falsely accused, wasn't he? And he got put in prison.
Yep.
And it took him 19 years.
Yep. He kept his head down. He done his time, and slowly he planned his escape. Miraculously, whatever you call it. And he just disappeared one day, and they never basically found him.
No, they didn't. But I tell you what, the best bit of that film was.
Yep.
Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
His narration over that entire movie was just incredible.
Well, you saying that, I've actually got a clip.
Have you?
Yeah, so you can actually listen to his fantastic voice.
Oh, I love Morgan Freeman. Go for it.
I'll play that now for you.
Go on then, please.
It always makes me laugh. Andy Dufresne, who crawled through a river of shit and came out clean on the other side. Andy Dufresne, headed for the Pacific.
Hadley's got him by the throat, right? And he says, I believe this boy's about to have himself an accident.
Those of us who knew him best talk about him often. I swear the stuff he pulled.
I believe these friends of mine could use a couple of beers. And he got it. And he got it.
Sometimes it makes me sad, though. Andy being gone. I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright. And when they fly away, the part of you that knows it was a sin to lock them up does rejoice. But still, the place you live in is that much more drab and empty that they're gone. I guess I just miss my friend.
And there you go. That was, I Guess I Miss My Friend from The Shawshank Redemption by Morgan Freeman. Fantastic voice.
Such a cool movie.
And I think the narration part of it really is quite deep and meaningful.
Yeah, it bombed at the box office. I can't believe it bombed at the box office, but it won 7 Academy Awards and was the highest grossing movie in rentals and on cable.
I could believe that, to be fair. And it's always in the list of, when people say, what's your top 10 Stephen King, it's always in that list.
Oh, gosh, yeah, I would say so. I agree with you there. Shall I tell you my funny story about that one?
You go for it. Tell us a funny story about The Shawshank.
I first watched that movie. I was a boyfriend came round and he said, we've got to watch this movie. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And he was lovely. He was a really, really lovely guy. Wasn't feeling the buzz. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't feeling the spark. So the whole night, I'd sit on the sofa, he'd sit on a chair, then he'd move next to me. Then I'd make an excuse and go and do a coffee or, comfort break or whatever. And then I'd come back and sit on a chair. Then he'd move and sit on the floor by my chair. Then I'd get up and move onto the sofa. And all night through the whole movie, this happened. If I don't like you, I move away.
Yeah. So you spent the whole night chasing you.
He chasing me around the front room whilst watching The Shawshank Redemption. And at the end of the movie, I was like, obviously, oh my God, that was an awesome movie. It was awesome. And then it's like, oh, did you enjoy that? I was like, yeah. Moved in for the kill. I was like, no, it's a great movie. Fuck off. Excuse my French.
Oh,
Years
dear.
ago that was a long time ago.
It was probably about 3 weeks ago, I know.
It wasn't. No, it was a long time ago. No, that's a long time before kids. That was.
Okay.
Bless him. Lovely guy though. Yeah. Poor man.
Okay, so what in your post that you posted today on social media?
Yeah.
What sort of responses did you get?
Oh my goodness, there is so many to choose from, and they were so widespread as well. I mean, Gavin Heaney said 11/22/63, which is, I believe, the JFK murder, assassination, rather, should I say?
Okay, I've not actually
Personal
seen
feelings
that.
coming out there.
Yeah.
No, I've not seen that either, but when I watched a post earlier, I was watching quite a lot of interviews with Stephen King rather than the movies. Chickened out of the movies, went more into the interview side of things. He said that it was the first historic movie he'd done, and he found it incredibly hard. Stephen King, this is, said it was incredibly hard to write a historic movie.
Okay.
And he's still got hundreds of books about that particular historic case. And he can't look at the books anymore. He said he wouldn't do another one like that because it didn't resonate with him. He found it incredibly difficult to write. But Gavin, that's one of his favourite. Lindsay Waghorn, who I believe is probably in the chat room tonight, she loves it. She loves that movie. She thinks that's absolutely brilliant.
To be fair, I don't blame her. It was a really good film.
Well, I still haven't seen it. I've seen clips, and it's just enough to send me off clowns forever. My sister Tracy, now she read a lot of his earlier works, like The Dead Zone, Firestarter, and Christine, and The Stand. So she goes back to his earlier days. Jess Howe is The Stand and The Long Walk. Kyla, who's in the chat room tonight, she loved Christine and the Dark Tower novels. Rob Lee, who we had on the other night.
Yep.
Again, The Stand and it. Sorry, I keep saying IT.
Yeah.
It's IT.
I mean,
guys.
you mentioned Christine. Did you realise Christine was at the car, and she had a son? It was Herbie.
Yeah, you said this before. See,
Yeah.
Herbie didn't have the teeth that Christine had, did
No.
Did he? You know.
he had the very nice, kind side, where Christine was the evil one.
Definitely. He also liked, those were the books he liked, was The Stand and It. And but his favourite film was probably Carrie, Stand By Me, or The Shawshank Redemption. And Fran Sprong, who loved Carrie and The Shawshank Redemption, were hers. So we had loads of people commenting across the board today, because that went up in several different sites. Honestly, absolutely. Some of them are absolutely awesome. The adaptations to film are absolutely awesome. Some of them are not very good.
Yeah, I mean, I went to see The Dark Tower.
Oh yeah, what did you make of that?
You know, I fell asleep.
Oh.
It bored me a tiny bit, so I fell asleep. But I will have to go back and watch the rest. I'd probably fall asleep for the first bit and then wake up for the second half that I missed the first time round.
My goodness, but that's got Matthew McConaughey in it. Oh my god.
Yeah.
See, I've gone Valley again.
I know, it's terrible. Nothing better.
Jay Lynch's influence is all I can say on that.
But it is great. I think they're going to do the whole series, because Stephen King wrote a series for The Dark Tower.
Yeah.
And I think, isn't there like 5 of them, I think?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's about 5 different Dark Towers, and I'm sure that he was going to write them. It's either 3 or 5. It's got to be one of those.
Wow, he's prolific, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, so we'll do a special show on The Dark Tower 2050.
Oh, 6. There's 6 apparently, says Kyla.
Oh, okay, there's 6. I knew it was round there somewhere. It's a nice round number.
That's the Gunslinger, isn't it? Gunslinger.
Yeah, that's the one. And it's basically a tower that basically protects the different dimensions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, we can't really move on much further, really, until we mention the iconic Salem's Lot.
again, that's another one I have not really been
Oh
into.
my
So I'll leave you to
God.
tell everybody about Salem's Lot.
Salem's Lot is basically the ultimate vampire movie, the first real one that hit the. I mean, I know we had Bram Stoker and all those, but this was the one that took that concept, and in the 70s, with that big explosion of horror movies that there were around at the time, this took the vampire to the ultimate limit. And it even had David Soul in it, which, you know, at the time, David Soul was heartthrob of the season, have to say. And it, yes, now you look at the effects, it's quite dated, obviously, because it was done in the 70s. But, oh my goodness.
Is that all you've got to say?
I remember watching that and being terrified, of, the whole vampire thing. And there's one scene where someone gets killed and they lay him out in a bedroom. And then all you can hear is a rocking chair.
Okay.
See, this is another thing with the Stephen King movies. When we was looking into it, we were trying to find clips from all the iconic movies. It was quite difficult because a lot of them are music and just sound effects where we're building up the suspense. And unless you know the movie, you wouldn't know what was happening. So all you've got is they can hear this rocking chair, and then you've got like a guy walking down the corridor towards the rocking chair, and then he opens up the door. And then the guy, obviously, who's dead, is now sitting in the rocking chair, vampired, and he's like, "Oh my God, awesome!"
Well,
awesome.
Richard Clements in the chat room. He said, "What was the vampire's name?"
Well, I'm going to have to bear with me on that one. I'll just Google that. That's not something I wrote down in my notes. I'm sure Richard will probably answer it before I can find it.
Indeed, but before we do carry on, we're going to have a short break. I'm going to play an ad, and then after that, I'm going to play a clip. Was an interview with Stephen King about the film It and his Pennywise inspiration.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
But listen, here's the thing. I had the idea for that book. Strange. People say, where do you get your ideas? And I make jokes about the answer. I don't know where the ideas come from. They strike like lightning sometimes. Once in a while, I can follow a chain of association. Most of the time, not, and I don't care. If the ideas come, I'm happy with that. But I had an idea when I was in Colorado that I wanted to write a really long book that had all the monsters in it. I figured that people think that I'm a horror writer. I've never considered myself to be that myself. I'm just a writer. I thought to myself, okay, if they want that, let me see how much I can do, and I'll get all the monsters together that I possibly can. I'll get the vampire, and I'll get the werewolf, and I'll even get the mummy, although the mummy has never really scared me because it's like, oh, the mummy's after us, let's all walk. It's not a terribly scary monster, but he had to be there because he's one of the classics. And then I thought to myself, there ought to be one sort of binding, horrible, nasty, gross creature, the kind of thing that just, you just don't want to see that. It makes you scream just to see it. And I thought to myself, what scares children more than anything else in the world? And the answer was clown. How do you say clown in German?
Just like that.
Say clown.
Maybe the Usher came, yeah.
So I created Pennywise the Clown in it, and then what happened was ABC came along and said they wanted to make a miniseries out of it, and they wanted to cast Tim Curry as Pennywise.
Sure, you can go without the clown mask on.
No, I thought it was a really strange idea, but it really worked, and it scared a whole generation of young people and made them scared of clowns, but clowns are scary, I think, for children to start with. I think
but you don't dream of Pennywise.
I'm sorry?
You don't dream of Pennywise.
No, I don't exactly dream of Pennywise, but there are scenes in that book that did kind of haunt me and give me nightmares at the time. But the thing is, I don't, as a general rule, have nightmares. I think of the most awful things I can think of and pass them on to you. So it's great. I get rid of them, I get paid, you get nightmares. And all
What makes people actually scared? Now that's a question for me again. I mean, what is it? Do you touch their own fears?
Well, what scares people is variable. It's uniquely variable. But I think that for me, what's worked over across all the years is to forget about the idea of scaring people. What I want to do is to tell a story where there are characters that people like. And Dr. Sleep is the only sequel, but I was not able to let the Losers Club from it go completely. There was Eddie Kasbrak, and there was Ben Hanscom, and Beverly, and Richie, and all those guys. And I brought Beverly and Richie back in 11/22/63 because I wanted to see them again. You know? And the idea is that if you can create characters that readers care about, the way that they care about people in their neighborhood or their family, and then if you put them in jeopardy, the terror or the suspense of the horror comes with that. One of the reasons that some of the horror movies aren't very scary is because the characters are two-dimensional and we don't care about them much.
Good deal. Let's talk about that, because you were one of the first people to have the idea that a clown could be a scary figure. Mm-hmm. You actually, in It, which became a movie, you wrote about you created a homicidal clown. It's very effective. Did you find clowns scary when you were a kid?
Well, you know, as a kid going to the circus, there would be like 12 full-grown people that would all pile out of a little tiny car. Their faces were dead white. Their mouths were red as though they were full of blood. They're all screaming. Their eyes are huge. What's not to like, you know? So
why were your clowns screaming?
Right. Well, I mean,
yeah, I know what you mean. They come out,
you know.
Yeah.
So I started to actually look at kids when I grew up a little bit, and I said, you know, kids are all terrified of him, and the parents are all like, aren't the clowns funny, Johnny? And Johnny's like, no, get me the hell out of here. These people are all crazy, because they are monstrous looking, and children are really afraid of them. They do have that sort of monstrous thing going for them.
Did you ever have a personal interaction with a clown that scared you?
Yeah, well, not exactly scared me, but I was on a book tour, my first big book tour, and I was on my way home. You do 9, 10, 11 cities in 4 days. It's surreal anyway by the time you get done. Cleveland was the last city, and the plane started to pull away from the gate. We were going to go from Cleveland to Burlington to Portland, where I was going to get off and drive home. The plane pulls away from the gate, and then it pulls back in. I'm sitting in first class, and the door opens again, and Ronald McDonald gets on the airplane. He's fully dressed.
Fully clothed Ronald McDonald, yeah.
You know, and it sits down next to me because I attract weirdness. You know, I'm like a weirdness magnet. And I was so weirded out by that point after all these, you know, rubber chicken dinners and everything else that I wasn't even surprised. Here he is, orange hair, orange shoes, the whole 9 yards. He sits down next to me. This is years ago. Plane takes off. No smoking light goes off. He pulls out a pack of Kents, lights up.
Ronald lights up a cigarette, yeah.
A Kent, and he orders a gin and tonic from the stewardess. He's sitting there drinking a gin and tonic, smoking a Kent, and I say the only thing I can think of, where did you come from? He says, McDonald Land. And Yeah, right. So I say, is this, no, really, where'd you come from? And he had come from McDonaldland, which is a real place in Chicago. And he was going to open a McDonald's in Burlington, Vermont. But you talk about surreal.
Sure.
40,000 feet with Ronald McDonald. And you think, what if this plane crashes? I'm going to die next to a clown.
And there you go. And that was the inspiration with Pennywise, the clown from It. Before we do talk about It, what other books and stuff have you been looking into this week?
Wow. There's one called The Gerald's Game.
Okay.
That I came across. I'd not heard of this before, but it was on the top 10 list of Stephen King's movies. And basically it's a sex game that goes wrong. They're in a deserted cabin, of course.
So this is why you was interested in this particular one?
No, I didn't know what it was about, but I looked into it because I thought, oh, Gerald's Game and all that. Anyway, basically he handcuffs her to this bed and then has a heart attack and dies. And it's the story of her on this bed, handcuffed with dead body. And he comes back basically to haunt her and tell her that she can't get out of it. And it's about her being able to get out of that situation while she's in said handcuff situation.
So she's handcuffed to the bed and the bloke's spirit comes back to state the obvious.
No, he taunts her a lot.
Okay.
A lot.
Yeah.
It's quite horrific. Put me off being handcuffed, put it that way.
Richard Clements said, did Kerry watch this movie with one of her boyfriends?
No, I did. One of my boyfriends. I don't have a boyfriend. I'd just like to put that out there. God. Really?
So anyone interested, answers on a postcard.
No, I didn't watch the movie. I read the synopsis. I can't actually watch any of these movies full. I've watched a few. I was actually quite surprised at how many I had watched off the list. But I didn't really watch any of these movies. I'm not going to lie. I've seen Carrie, but that was back in the day.
Yep.
I saw Salem's Lot back in the day. I saw Children of the Corn.
Yes, I've seen that a few times.
Oh, but that was back in the day. I went through a horror phase, and these are all kind of movies I watched in my horror movie days. And now I don't.
Have you not been brave enough to go and see It?
No. You have. We sent you, didn't we?
You did indeed. You sent me to go.
I said, Paul, we're going to do a Stephen King special. You need to go to the movie and you need to see it. And you went, like I need any encouragement.
I remember the conversation slightly different to that, but okay, I'll go with that.
Okay, so what's your version of the conversation?
Okay. No, we won't go there.
Come on then, you went to see said movie.
Yes, I went to see the said movie, It, and do you know what? I thought it was quite a good movie. Because I've not read the book, so I can't compare. But the only thing I can compare it to is the original film. Now, in the original, you had all the main characters were adults, and it happened. It was like 27 years after what originally happened, and they sort of had flashbacks to their childhood in the original film. So they were like basically attacked by this clown in the town of Derry, and every 27 years this clown would appear and basically take children, and it was basically an ongoing thing. Every 27 years this would happen. And in the original, obviously, they were adults, as I said, and they went back to the town to fight this clown for the second time. And with the new film, in particular, it was centred around the childhood. So there was no adult main cast in there at all. So it was just like the initial bit where the guy's younger brother, George, he got taken by the clown underneath the sewer system. Mm-hmm. And everyone's probably seen now the advert for where the little boat floats into the sewer system, and then the clown appears and he talks to George, and drags in the child. So then it sort of progresses from there a year later, where the older brother still doesn't believe that the younger brother's dead, and he goes looking for him. And he's obviously got a group of friends that go out and they discover this this clown. And I mean, it's quite funny in parts, because there's one particular child and he's quite crude in some of the jokes that he, one-liners that he comes out with, but it does sort of give a bit of humour to the film. And sort of that's as much as the film goes, because it is just the childhood section of the film.
Right.
At the end of the film, all they do is make a pact to say that if this Pennywise clown does appear again in 27 years' time, they, as adults, will come back. And that's pretty much where the film ends. So, it is a little bit drawn out, so I'm not sure whether or not it is very accurate to the book. But it is just the childhood. So I think they are gonna do a part 2.
Yeah, and I think that's been put out there already, though.
Yeah, it
by
will
Stephen
be.
King.
Yeah, it probably will be out in just before Halloween. I would have thought next year. And I would have thought that would be then the 27 years later, when children start going missing again, and then the phone call goes out to all the friends, and then they come back to the town to beat this clown up again. That's sort of going to be the gist of the film. I did think it was quite good. It was quite good.
Did it scare you?
Not me, but it did the people that was with me. As a paranormal investigator, and I have also done a degree in TV video production, I tend to analyse films a little bit too much, so I can normally pick out when things are going to jump out at you and stuff. So I might actually go back and see this film in 3D 4X, because the chair
you do love a bit of 3D 4X, don't you?
I do, absolutely. It just brings the screen a little bit more alive to you, and I think with all the clowns jumping out at you and the demons and ghosts or whatever, I think it's going to be an ultimate experience. But I mean, I would like to see the next part, so it's definitely on my to-do list.
Basically, it's bred a whole fear of clowns. Do you think that, like last year around Halloween, there was loads of clowns hanging around in the dark? There was a big thing on social media about clowns, weren't there? Do you think that was bred from the It movies?
No, I don't particularly can't remember why it came about last year or the year before that. I do remember in the media there was a lot of stuff about people just hanging around in clown outfits,
just being weird.
And I just thought, what a bunch of weirdos. I mean, I can think of so much better things to do on a Sunday night than stand underneath a lamp for 4 hours, dressed as a bleeding clown, But I do know the police were a little bit concerned about that for this year. So I don't know that the police did say that they were gonna be a little bit more hard on people they catch doing it.
Okay.
So
the thing is, I think it has bred a whole a whole generation of people being scared of clowns.
Yeah, I do understand that. I mean, it's not just it that is clown based. I mean, there are a few killer clown movies out there and things like that. And House of a Thousand Corpses, I think, was a film by Rob Zombie, I think it was, and that was about a family. This family was quite strange anyway, and the dad would dress up as a clown and he would kidnap and murder people. So clowns have been quite spooky things right from the start. So I don't think it has, created that. I just think it's sort of run with the idea rather than creating.
True. So, is it worth going to see it?
Yes, because otherwise it is, because with the original one you don't get to see much of the childhood. You get to see little snippets of it.
Okay.
But this is just their childhood for like when George disappeared the first time. You actually see the clown sort of bite his arm off and then drag him into the sewer. And then it skips a year with the older brother, and it's like him going to school and meeting up with a couple of other people. There's another kid that starts getting bullied by the group of bullies. I mean, that's another running theme in his films as well, Stephen King films, that you've got bullies and the bullied. And this little chubby kid is bullied by the older 16, 17-year-olds, and he sort of fits in with this group of misfits. And yeah, it's a really good film, and there's a lot of meaningful hidden messages.
Right. Great.
So go and see it, especially you.
No. I'd have to take my cushion and look such a wuss. I don't do the wuss look, so I just avoid movies like that.
You got to do it 3D 4X as well.
No. One day you might get me to a movie in 3D 4X, but
I did actually say it'd be, to top the film off, it would have been absolutely fantastic to come down, get up out your seat, down the steps of the cinema, out the doors, and there'd be someone with a clown outfit straight ahead of it.
God, that would be well. Jesus.
That would have been the highlight of the night.
Oh my goodness me. Now, okay, so we don't want to give any spoilers away, really, unless you already have, and I just aren't aware of that.
I have, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But then if people have already read the book or seen the original, they know where the film's going, so...
Okay, so...
But go and see it anyway.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a couple of other films that he has done, or books he's written and that have been adapted to film, that haven't been quite so good. Maximum Overdrive.
No, never heard of it.
This is basically an alien takes over great big machinery in regards to a great big lorry that's got a weird face on the front of it, and kills people in quite slapstick ways.
So it's like Christine's uncle.
Yeah, on a bigger front. Think big.
Okay.
Bit scary, but not that scary because it's a little bit slapstick. But the other thing I found out about Stephen King is he loves his music. He adores his music. And the whole soundtrack for Maximum Overdrive was done by AC/DC.
Yep.
And it was the only movie he's actually directed.
He's actually been appeared in some as well.
He has.
Cameos.
He has done some cameos. And the other one that was billed as one of the worst ever, which was The Secret Window, Johnny Depp. Being as Johnny Depp has been mentioned in the chat room. And I think that was more because Johnny Depp spent most of it on the couch. Lying on the couch.
I'll take your word for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also collaborated for video of ghosts.
He did. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah, because Stephen King likes to try new things, and he's never actually done anything like that. So he obviously considered a new thing, and off he went and done it. And that was back in '96, a 40-minute music video.
He did. And we can't not mention The Shining.
No.
We can't not.
Well, you've mentioned it now. So next.
I know. Okay. Oh, okay. Didn't like that movie then, no?
I've not seen it.
Oh, yeah, but here's Johnny. Come
I know
on.
that. Yeah, but that's it. I mean, no, it never really struck me as a film that I would like to see. I am more. I don't really like supernatural horrors. To be fair, some of them annoy me. Being an investigator myself, it's like, really, you don't do that.
But the
Really,
Stanley Hotel, where
demons.
that was filmed, is an investigation site. It's still really, investigated. People love going there.
Yeah,
That's
I
where
know,
it was
but
filmed.
they go there for the paranormal activity. They don't go there because Johnny stuck his head through the door.
No, I know, but it's like so iconic.
I know, but it just doesn't strike me as something that I'd be interested in. So I didn't. No, I've not seen it.
No, okay, fair enough.
No,
But you know the clips.
I do know that particular clip. Yeah, because everyone knows that one.
Exactly, you know the clip.
Yes.
Now, one thing I did, like I said earlier, I didn't actually go and watch many of the movies, although I was quite surprised at how many I had watched when I looked at the list of books he had written and movies that had been taken. And he's really funny. Stephen King is actually, when he does a talk at a seminar, he's so funny.
Yep.
He's brilliant.
I know.
I mean, earlier
That's why
on
we're doing tonight's show.
I know. I was actually quite surprised. I thought he'd be quite macabre and very serious and, not very amenable to listen to as a speaker. But honestly, guys, check him out on YouTube because some of his talks on his inspirations for these books that he's written is actually incredibly funny. I mean, there was one seminar I watched that Stephen King is talking, and he's actually out on a day out with his wife, and she goes to the restroom, and he stood outside waiting for her, and another guy joins him, and they're just sort of like hanging outside. And then a mum comes with her son, and there's some waiting, and they're all just stood there. And he said this is his thought process. He always thinks of the why.
Yep.
So while they're all stood outside this ladies' room, he's thinking, what are they doing in there? They're taking like forever. They could be like sucked down the toilet. They could be having their hair done. They could be doing rituals. They could be doing anything in there. And that actually has inspired him to write like 80 or 90 pages of a book called The Ladies' Room. But he doesn't start with a plan of where the book's going to go. He sort of just gets an idea and flows with it and sees where it takes him. And I actually found that really quite fascinating because he said he's still got this book, and if anybody wants to finish the book for him, he'll go collaborate as rights on it.
I'll do it for him. I'll finish it off.
Wow.
A big gas explosion wipes them all out. And that's the end.
Oh my goodness. And there was some amazing, oh goodness me. And there were some amazing quotes I found from Stephen King. One of them being, which I felt was really relevant to what we guys do. And he said this, he said, monsters are real and ghosts are real too. They live inside us and sometimes they win.
Yep.
And I thought that was really quite true because, when you listen to him talk, he's not, he doesn't come across as weird or twisted, which you would expect with some of what he's written. But, he was actually inspiring as a person. And as I say, incredibly funny. He loves his music.
Did you, in the course of your research, did you actually find out what his pseudonym was?
He has written under pseudonym. I did read it and then dismissed it.
Okay.
Because I didn't think we were going to get time to cover that.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, you could have done.
Well, I could have done.
I've just given you an opportunity there.
Well, I've lost that opportunity then, haven't I?
Okay, so
there was so much else to talk. I mean, I could have gone on for hours and hours about Stephen King and his pseudonyms and stuff. But I didn't think you wanted to focus on that because you don't do that, do you?
No. Let's go. Okay, let's talk about some of the films that he's actually been in and cameos.
Go on then.
Okay, he's appeared in Pet Sematary. He was a minister in one of the funerals in the film. He was in Rose Red as a pizza delivery man. Mm-hmm. He was in The Stand as a as a guy called Teddy Wiseack.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in The Shining.
Was he?
He was. Yeah, he was. One of the
it wasn't
band
filmed
members.
at the Stanley Hotel.
No.
Oh, my research falls down there. Sorry,
That's
guys.
it. Richard Clements there slapping your wrists.
He is. My goodness.
He was also in The Langoliers. And
The Langoliers. That was a movie.
Yeah, that was a really good film. I enjoyed that. Sleepwalkers, he was in. And, yep, he's even been in The Simpsons. How about that?
Oh, my goodness. Apparently, the film was shot almost entirely in the studio at Elstree Studios in Hertfordshire, England, where the hotel interior was constructed. The exterior of the Overlook Hotel is the Timberline Lodge. I hope your research is right, Richard, because I will go back and re-research that. You know me. Mount Hood in the Hood River area of northern Oregon. Apparently. That's what Richard Clements says in the chat room.
Okay, cool.
But I reckon he's just Googled that.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
it was Richard Bachman.
Yep, I was about to say Richard Bachman was a pseudonym.
and going back to the earlier point, it was Kurt Barlow for the Salem's Lot. Just saying, you know.
Okay, just put it out there. Absolutely.
Just putting it out there, you know.
So, did we get any more questions or anything in the chat room tonight?
No, we've not had a huge amount of questions. We've had loads of people commenting, which one of the fear of clowns is coulrophobia, and Johnny Depp apparently has an acute fear of.
I don't blame him. That's why he wasn't in it.
I don't blame him for that either, to be fair, because I don't think I would have wanted to have been in it. Stephanie Doyle called you out in the chat room.
Yeah, as always.
Bless her. She went, no, Paul. It was they fight him as kids and then they come back as adults, and then it's part 2, Act of the Adults, comes out in 2019. So
okay, it'd be Halloween 2019 then.
Okay, well, Steph called you out, and again, Steph says there's always creepy rocking chairs in horror movies. So there's been loads and loads of discussion about Stephen King. And I have to say, like I said right at the beginning, I didn't realise how much he had written and how many films had been made. I mean, we haven't really covered half of it. I mean, there are, oh, goodness me.
I mean, you've even got Cujo that we haven't even mentioned.
No, we haven't mentioned Cujo, The Dead Zone. We haven't mentioned Creepshow, Firestarter. I mean, we talked about The Green Mile, didn't we?
Yeah.
We briefly mentioned The Langoliers. The Mist. Oh, my God. We haven't talked about The Mist.
There is actually, on Netflix at the moment, there is a TV series called The Mist, and it is based on Stephen King's The Mist. I've actually seen the film, The Mist, but, yeah, this TV series is pretty much the same, but obviously drawn out again over 20 episodes or something, but definitely get a chance to see it. It's worth it.
Okay. Pet Sematary.
Awesome film.
Awful
the worst bit. I thought the worst bit, and the bit that actually made me cringe through that was, you know, when the little boy was evil, and you had the bloke from the Munsters coming down the stairs, and the little boy was underneath the stairs with a cutthroat razor, and done his Achilles tendon in. Back of the heel. That's the only bit that made me cringe in that film. It's like, ugh. Ooh, no.
The Running Man.
Yep.
Which has been kind of updated in the Hunger Games.
Absolutely.
Kind of sort of taken that theme and run with. The Stand. We haven't talked about The Stand. Oh my goodness, there's so many. The most recent Tommy Knockers. We haven't even talked about Tommy Knockers.
Oh, that was good. I enjoyed that one.
Or Under the Dome.
Yes, that was a good TV series as well.
Under the Dome. I didn't realise that was Stephen King until I printed all these. Because I was like, oh my God, he wrote that? Oh my God, he wrote that. Honestly, Stephen King, I have a brand new respect for this guy. I really do. I'm not saying I'd watch it or some of them?
No, I mean, although he's known for horror writing, he does a lot of stuff that is not horror or quite tame stuff.
Yeah.
So he's definitely worth. Yeah, he's all-rounder, I think.
With a little touch of psychological mind.
Absolutely. And Needful Things. Needful Things is one of those.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many. We could have gone on and on and on about Stephen King.
Yes, we could have done. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. What have we got for coming up this week and into next week?
Well, we have got an amazing shows coming up. I'm dragging the diary out. Tomorrow night, we have got Haunted Histories with the Galleries of Justice. Talking about that, that's always awesome. So 9:00 tomorrow night, guys. Then on Thursday night, we have got an interesting show on Thursday night. Something to do with ufology, for you ufology guys out there. The KTPF is the rerun interview of Gary Heseltine. Interesting as always. I need to look into him a little bit more. I don't know really much about this guy, but it's about ufology, so another interesting topic. On Friday, we're talking about Sir Arthur. Arthur is Arthur Conan Doyle.
Didn't he write Tarzan?
No. No. Do you remember we time travelled back from the pop-up show on Saturday and we changed that to somebody completely different. No, so Arthur Conan Doyle, we're looking at in regards to his paranormal journey, as well as he wrote Sherlock Holmes, though. We allowed him to continue writing Sherlock. Well, he's dead now, but he did write Sherlock Holmes. But Tarzan, we did actually change that in the past.
Okay.
And on Sunday, I have a special interview on Sunday on the Spirit Dimension show. I've actually got Sue and Steve Sue and Steve from the KTPF show.
Awesome.
I've actually got them live in the studio.
Fantastic.
Because I thought it was about time we actually met them.
Yeah, because we play their shows, so why not?
We play their shows. They did awesome shows. They met some amazing, amazing people. They were a huge part of the paranormal field for a long, long time. So I thought, I'm going to nag them into submission and get them onto a live show. And that's Sunday. So this week we have got some, as always, some amazing shows going live. As I say, 9 p.m. tomorrow night, we've got the Haunted Histories with the Galleries of Justice. So tune in tomorrow night.
Okay. And what have I got for next week?
Okay, next week you have got the Enigma Project with David Blackburn. Is it?
Yep.
Is it David Blackburn?
I don't know. I can't remember. I don't know. It might have been John.
Might be John Blackburn.
John Blackburn. Yeah. I think that one sounds a bit more plausible.
Look, you always catch me on the hop every single week. Yes, it is. It's John Blackburn. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. He's so going to kill me. I talk to so many people. That's all, my excuse.
Yeah. So I just tested you there. You
did, and I failed at the last minute. I did ever so well up until the last minute every single week. I am working on this. This is a life goal.
This is why you're on so many shows, because you need the practice.
Oh my God, I'm on so many shows. And don't forget, midnight on Thursday night on the Paramania channel, I go live with Jay Lynch. And this week we've got Vanessa Hoggle on this week from Down the Rabbit Hole, who is awesome and one of the most outspoken people in the paranormal field I have ever come across. So tune into that.
I'm going to be on Paramania on the 2nd of November.
Yes, you are.
They asked me as a guest, so I'm being interviewed.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at that.
So it's going to be an entertaining show nonetheless. So
make sure I tune in.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone else needs to tune in as well, just for a good laugh.
We are crossing the pond with Paramania as well as Parasearch Radio. So don't forget, tune in, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me in the chat room, everybody, and hopefully we'll all see you again next week.
There's no murders and missing kids. Derry's not like any town I've ever been in before. People die or disappear 6 times the national average.
When you're alone as a kid, the monsters see you as weaker. You don't even know they're getting closer until it's too late.